I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough to cover everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care. People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it get there, and we make sure then when you get sick and old, it's there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to buy into Medicare or whatever. Good luck buying healthcare once you get past 70. So look, the ACA works. We can continue to do better. Kamala Harris did that. The way she made everything better was negotiating those 10 drugs on Medicare for the first time in American history.
Thank you. Margaret?
Can I address that?
I apologize. We're out of time. We have a number of subjects to discuss. Margaret?
Let's talk about families in America. There is a child care crisis in this country, and the United States is one of the very few
By the way, these moderators don't seem biased. That's a good thing.
developed countries in the world without a national paid leave program for new parents. Governor Walz, you said that if Democrats win both the White House and Congress, this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's what the deal is. Americans sitting out there right now, you may work for a big company. Look, we're home in Minnesota to some of the largest Fortune 500 companies. Kamala Harris knows.
Yeah. Start the stream.
That in California. Those companies provide paid family medical leave. One is, I think they're moral and they think it's a good thing, but it also keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family medical leave. You have a child, and I had to go back to work 5 days after my kids were born. This allows you to stay home a certain amount of time. What we know is that gets the child off to a better start. The family works better. We stay in their employers. We get more consistency in that. So Kamala Harris has made it a priority. We implemented it in Minnesota, and we see growth. That's how you become a pro-business state. But the negotiations on it, and here's the issue. Those big companies are able to offer it. Those of you out there who don't have it, just imagine what happens if you get cancer or your child gets sick. We know what happens. You end up staying home. In some cases, that means no paycheck, because you've got no protection on that. This is the case of an economy that Donald Trump has set for the wealthiest amongst us. He's willing to give those tax breaks to the wealthiest. He's willing to say, bust those unions up, do whatever. What we're saying is the economy works best when it works for all of us. And so a paid family medical leave program, and I will tell you, go to the families, or go to the businesses and ask them. As far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both the supply and the demand side. You can't expect the most important people in our lives to take either our children or our parents to get paid the least amount of money. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then to make sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this.
Go to your kitchen right now and try this turmeric hack that outshines Ozempic for shedding 2 or more pounds almost overnight.
If the vaccine fails, we're all out of a job.
Yes, failed. You're gonna want to read this. They fake the data. It's all there. We have a U.S. monopoly, and we own.
And that the Second Amendment is there, but our first responsibility is to our kids to figure this out. In Minnesota, we've enacted enhanced red flag laws, enhanced background checks, and we can start to get data. But here's the problem. If we really want to solve this, we've got folks that won't allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, and I here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's not far enough when we know there are things that worked. I've spent time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen.
What was that
even though
noise?
They have a high gun ownership rate in the country. There are reasonable things. Time in Finland and seen some Finnish schools. They don't have this happen.
What was that
even though
noise?
They have a high gun ownership rate in the country. There are reasonable things that we can do to make a difference. It's not infringing on your Second Amendment. And the idea to have some of these weapons out there, it just doesn't make any sense. Kamala Harris, as an attorney general, worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out there.
Yes, you are.
Do you want your schools hardened to look like a fort? Is that what we have to go? Well,
Yes.
you know, there's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing these types of drills. They're being kids. We owe it to them to get a fix. These are things that shouldn't be that difficult. You can still keep your firearms, and we can make a difference. We have to. If you're listening tonight, this
False.
breaks your heart.
He's lying.
Senator.
He's
Tim,
lying.
First of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witnessed a shooting. And I'm sorry about that, and I hope that he's
appreciate
doing
you saying
okay.
so.
Christ have mercy. It is awful. And I appreciate what Tim said, actually, about Finland, because I do think it illustrates some of the frankly, weird differences between our own country's gun violence problem and Finland. Is, okay, first of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse, or mental health substance abuse. We have way higher rates of depression, way higher rates of anxiety. We unfortunately have a mental health crisis
I wonder
in this
if it's
country.
true.
I really do think that we need to get to the root causes
Did a
of it, because I don't
17-year-old
think it's
witness
the whole
that?
reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines, but is the terrible gun violence problem in a lot of our big cities. And this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun offenders off the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but only later in your political career did you change your position. Why?
Yeah, I sat in that office with those Sandy Hook parents. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA, I was an NRA guy for a long time. They used to teach gun safety.
What?
I'm of an age where my shotgun was in my car.
I've
so I could
become
pheasant hunt
friends
after
with
football
school
practice.
shooters?
That's not where we live today.
What?
And several things I want to mention on this is,
Did I hear that
talking
right?
about cities and where it's
Oh
at,
my God.
the number one, where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children getting guns and shooting themselves. And so we have, and we should look at all of the issues. Making sure folks have health care and all that, but I want to be very careful. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing is we start looking for a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns. It's just the guns, and there are things
What?
that you can do about it.
No.
But I do think that this is one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. Let's turn now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing and rent. There's a shortage of more than 4 million homes in the United States, and that contributes to the high housing prices. Governor Walz, the Harris campaign promises a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit. They also promise to build 3 million new homes. Where are you building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. We have, first, let me say this.
It is a
this
handout.
issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity. It can be bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not folks living in those houses. Those of you listening tonight, that house is a big deal. I bought and owned one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it more affordable. And one of the things, as I said, this program that the vice president is
supposed to be
pushing
applying.
forward and bringing a new way of approaching this is something we're doing in Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest
fix your
investment
mic.
that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look, we can't do it at the federal level, but local folks make it easier to build those homes. And then that down payment assistance. I can tell all of you out there, one of the, certainly for me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things that make it there. Now, look, you're going to pay it back, and you're going to pay your mortgage. Those are things that we know in the long run, the appreciated value, the generational wealth that's created from it. And I will give Minneapolis an example. Minneapolis is the one city where we've seen the lowest inflation rates, We've seen a 12% increase in stock because we've put some of these things in, and we're implementing a state program to make sure we give some of that down payment assistance. We get it back from people because here's what we know. People with stable housing end up with stable jobs. People with stable housing have their kids able to get to school. All of those things in the long run end up saving our money. And that's the thing that I think we should be able to find some common ground in, but we can't blame immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there to help kickstart it, create that base.
Governor, your time is up. Senator Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is to seize federal lands
This
to build
is so
homes,
bad, dude.
remove regulation, provide tax breaks,
This is
and
really
cut back
bad.
on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising, and what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief?
Tim Walz blew it, dude.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent, and some of them I disagree with. But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as a newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her, not sit around and campaign and do nothing while Americans find the American dream of homeownership completely unaffordable. Now, you asked, Margaret, what would immediately change the equation for American citizens if you lower energy prices? As Donald Trump says, drill, baby, drill. One of the biggest drivers of housing costs, aside from illegal immigration, is, think about it. If a truck driver's paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber he's delivering to the job site to build the house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate pricing relief for American citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole host of other economic goods, too.
He's killing it, man.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there. Do you want to answer?
Can I have it?
Where, Governor, we will get to you in a moment. But Senator, where are you going to seize the federal lands? Can you clarify?
Well, what Donald Trump has said is we have a lot of federal lands that aren't being used for anything. They're not being used for a national park. They're not being used, and they could be places where we build a lot of housing. And I do think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in.
Well, of course, that's not true. And again, you have the facts. I guess we agreed not to
Yes, it is true.
Check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office. But it's, again, blaming and not trying to find the solution. I was going to ask, though, on this question, are we going to drill and build houses in the same federal land? And I think when people hear federal lands, these are really important pieces of land. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the countries we do. There's not a lot of federal lands in and around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the world's fresh water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like, there's a chance to make money here. Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments. That gets people in. And I'm still on the fact on this. Economists, Senator Vance, you said you don't like the economists. Which economists are saying that it is immigrants that's adding to the cost?
Governor, your time is up. But Senator, on that point, I'd like for you to clarify. There are many contributing factors to high housing costs. What evidence do you have that migrants are part of this problem?
Well, there's a Federal Reserve study that we're happy to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between increased levels of migration, especially illegal immigration, and higher housing prices. Now, of course, Margaret, that's not the entire driver of higher housing prices. It's also the regulatory regime of Kamala Harris. Look, we are a country of builders. We're a country of doers. We're a country of explorers. But we increasingly have a federal administration that makes it harder to develop our resources, makes it harder to build things, and wants to throw people in jail for not doing everything exactly as Kamala Harris says they have to do. And what that means is that you have a lot of people who would love to build homes who aren't able to build homes. I actually agree with Tim Walz. We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity. But the thing that has most turned housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to be here.
What are the federal regulations? I deal with this as a governor.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry. I get this as a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that in some cases, many of those are local, many of them are state. I don't know which ones are federal, but I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
Governor, thank you. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to. You're passionate about the housing crisis, I can tell. But Nora?
Thank you. One of the top problems facing Americans is the high cost of health care. Senator Vance, at the last presidential debate, former President Trump was asked about replacing the Affordable Care Act. In response, he said, "I have concepts of a plan." Since then, Senator, you've talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? And can you guarantee that Americans with pre-existing conditions won't pay more? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time under Donald Trump's leadership. And I think that, a lot of people have criticized this concepts of a plan remark. Look, it's very simple common sense. I think as Tim Walz knows from 12 years in Congress, you're not going to propose a 900-page bill standing on a debate stage. It would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again, he has a record to be proud of, prescription drugs fell in 2018 for the first time in a very long time. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, prescription drugs are up about 7%. Under Donald Trump's entire 4 years, they were up about 1.5%. He introduced pricing transparency. Think about healthcare. You go into a hospital, you try to buy something, and nobody knows what it actually costs. That price transparency will actually give American consumers a little bit more choice.
Yeah,
and
they
will
scam
also
you,
drive
man.
down costs. And we talked about, the reinsurance regulations is what I was talking about. Look, Donald Trump has said that if we allow states to experiment a little bit on how to cover both the chronically ill, but the non-chronically ill, it's not just a plan. He actually implemented some of these regulations when he was president of the United States. And I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged Obamacare, which was doing disastrously until Donald Trump came along. And I think this is an important point about President Trump. Of course, you don't have to agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done. But when Obamacare was crushing under the weight of its own regulatory burden and healthcare costs, Donald Trump could have destroyed the program. Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. It's not perfect, of course, and there's so much more that we can do. But I think that Donald Trump has earned the right to put in place some better healthcare policies. He's earned it because he did it successfully the first time.
Governor?
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA. And the reason it was so important is I come from a major healthcare state, home of the Mayo Clinic, home to Medical Alley, 3M, Medtronic, all of those. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and quality of healthcare. And so what I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one was to repeal Obamacare. On day one, he tried to sign an executive order to repeal the ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain to save that bill. Now, fast forward, what that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions. If you're sitting at home and you got asthma, too bad. If you're a woman, probably not. Broke your foot during football, might kick you out. Your kids get kicked out when they're 26. Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time
Kamala
with
Harris.
Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there. But look, this issue, and when Donald Trump said, I've got a concept of a plan, it cracked me up as a fourth grade teacher because my kids would have never given me that. But what Senator Vance just explained might be worse than a concept, because what he explained is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as simple as possible because I have done this for a long time. What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay out to you. But those of you a little older, gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
Governor, thank you. Senator, you have not yet explained how you would protect people with pre-existing conditions or laid out that plan.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened, and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight, is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low, take-home pay was higher, and he saved the very program from a Democratic administration that was collapsing and would have collapsed absent his leadership. He did his job, which is govern in a bipartisan way and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Governor, did enrollment under the Affordable Care Act go up under the Trump administration?
It's higher now that we've seen it go up. Look, people are using it. The system works. And the question about this of young people or whatever, that's the individual mandate piece of this. And Republicans fought tooth and nail saying, well, Americans should be free to do this. Well, then what happens is...
So you think the individual mandate's a good idea?
You shrink. I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough to cover everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care. People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it get there, and we make sure then when you get sick and old, it's there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to buy into Medicare or whatever. Good luck buying health care once you get past 70. So look, the ACA works. We can continue to do better. Kamala Harris did that. The way she made everything better was negotiating those 10 drugs on Medicare for the first time in American history.
Thank you. Margaret?
Can I address that?
I apologize. We're out of time. We have a number of subjects to discuss. Margaret?
Let's talk about families in America. There is a child care crisis in this country, and the United States is one of the very few developed countries in the world without a national paid leave program for new parents. Governor Walz, you've said that if Democrats win both the White House and Congress, this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's what the deal is. Americans sitting out there right now, you may work for a big company. Look, we're home in Minnesota to some of the largest Fortune 500 companies. Kamala Harris knows that in California. Those companies provide paid family medical leave. One is, I think they're moral and they think it's a good thing, but it also keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family medical leave. You have a child, and I had to go back to work 5 days after my kids were born. This allows you to stay home a certain amount of time. What we know is that gets the child off to a better start, the family works better, we stay in their employers, we get more consistency in that. So Kamala Harris has made it a priority. We implemented it in Minnesota, and we see growth. That's how you become a pro-business state. But the negotiations on it, and here's the issue, those big companies are able to offer it. Those of you out there who don't have it, just imagine what happens if you get cancer or your child gets sick. We know what happens. You end up staying home. In some places, that means no paycheck because you've got no protection on that. This is the case of an economy that Donald Trump has set for the wealthiest amongst us. He's willing to give those tax breaks to the wealthiest. He's willing to say, bust those unions up, do whatever. What we're saying is the economy works best when it works for all of us. And so a paid family medical leave program, and I will tell you, go to the families or go to the businesses and ask them. As far as childcare on this, you have to take it at both the supply and the demand side. You can't expect the most important people in our lives to take either our children or our parents to get paid the least amount of money. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then to make sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this. We were listed as the best state. We're still in crisis on this. A federal program of paid family and medical leave and help with this will enhance our workforce, enhance our families, and make it easier to have the children that you want.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, do you support a national paid leave program? And if so, for how long should employers be mandated to pay their employees while they are home taking care of their newborn? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, first of all, Margaret, a number of my Republican colleagues and some Democrats, too, have worked on this issue. And I think there is a bipartisan solution here because a lot of us care about this issue. I mean, look, I speak from this very personally because I'm married to a beautiful woman who's an incredible mother to our 3 beautiful kids, but is also a very, very brilliant corporate litigator. And I'm so proud of her. But being a working mom, even for somebody with all of the advantages of my wife, is extraordinarily difficult. And it's not just difficult from a policy perspective. She actually had access to paid family leave because she worked for a bigger company. But the cultural pressure on young families and especially young women, I think makes it really hard for people to choose the family model they want. A lot of young women would like to go back to work immediately. Some would like to spend a little time home with the kids. Some would like to spend longer at home with the kids. We should have a family care model that makes choice possible. And I think this is a very important substantive difference between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's approach. I mean, look, if you look at the federal programs that we have that support paid family leave right now, the Community Development Block Grant, and there's another block grant program that spends a lot of money from the federal government. These programs only go to one kind of child care model. Let's say you'd like your church maybe to help you out with childcare. Maybe you live in a rural area or an urban area and you'd like to get together with families in your neighborhood to provide childcare in the way that makes the most sense. You don't get access to any of these federal monies.
He's agreeing with JD again.
We want to promote choice in how we deliver family care and how we promote childcare because look, it is unacceptable. And, you know, of course, Tim and I have been on the campaign trail a lot the past 7 or 8 weeks. And one of the biggest complaints I hear from young families is people who feel like they don't have options, like they're choosing between going to work or taking care for their kids. That is an incredible burden to put on American families. We're the only country that does it. I think we could do a heck of a lot better.
Senator, thank you. You have also said, Senator Vance, many things about the American family. The Federal Reserve says parents will spend nearly as much on child care as they do on housing each month. So I want to get your thoughts on this. President Trump recently said, as much as child care is talked about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kinds of numbers we'll be taking in. Is President Trump committed to the $5,000 per child tax credit that you have described? You have 1 minute.
Well, what President Trump said, Margaret, I just want to defend my running mate here a little bit, is that we're going to be taking in a lot of money by penalizing companies for shipping jobs overseas and penalizing countries who employ slave laborers and then ship their products back into our country and undercut the wages of American workers. It's the heart of the Donald Trump economic plan. Cut taxes for American workers and American families. Cut taxes for businesses that are hiring and building companies in the United States of America, but penalize companies and countries that are shipping jobs overseas. That's the heart of the economic proposal. And I think what President Trump is saying is that when we bring in this additional revenue with higher economic growth, we're going to be able to provide paid family leave, child care options that are viable and workable for a lot of American families.
Can you clarify how that will solve the childcare shortage?
Well, because as Tim said, a lot of the child care shortage is we just don't have enough resources going into the multiple people who could be providing family care options. And we're going to have to, unfortunately, look, we're going to have to spend more money. We're going to have to induce more people to want to provide child care options for American families, because the reason it's so expensive right now is because you've got way too few people providing this very very essential service.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, your ticket also has some child care tax credit proposals. Do you think Congress will agree to the $6,000 credit for newborns and $3,000 credit for children over the age of 6, as your campaign has promised? Is that realistic?
Well, if these members of Congress are listening to anybody, I can tell you, and this is the biggest issue. Everybody listening tonight knows. I mean, I'm sure they were shocked to hear it's not that expensive. And let's be clear, whether it's $5,000 or $6,000, that pays you about 3 or 4 months. Let's be clear of where we're at on this. It's because we got out of an imbalance on this. We thought we were going to get by not paying people. I don't think Senator Vance and I are that far apart. I'm not opposed to what he's talking about on options. We've done scholarship types of things. I think we need to be open to making the case. But the issue here is, the question you asked is, you're not going to pay for it with these tariffs. That's just adding another $4,000 on the family and taking less. So not only do they not get the money to pay for that, they're $4,000 in the hole. That's Wharton School. That's his alma mater. And so I think the issue here is, if those members of Congress, I can't believe they're not. When I go to businesses, sure, they'll talk about taxes sometime, but they will lead with childcare and they will lead with housing, because we know the problem is, especially in a state like Minnesota, we need more workers because our economy's growing, but we need the workforce.
Governor, thank you. We need to move on. Nora?
Let's talk about the state of democracy, the top issue for Americans after the economy and inflation. After the 2020 election, President Trump's
illegal immigration.
And others filed 62 lawsuits contesting the Americans after the economy and inflation. After the 2020 election, President Trump's
illegal immigration.
And others filed 62 lawsuits contesting the results.
Dude, CBS is just straight lying, dude.
By President Trump and other Republican presidents, looked at the evidence and said there was no widespread fraud. The governors of every state in the nation, Republicans and Democrats, certified the 2020 election results and sent a legal slate of electors to Congress for January 6th. Senator Vance, you have said you would not have certified the last presidential election and would have asked the states to submit alternative electors. That has been called unconstitutional and illegal. Would you again seek to challenge this year's election results, even if every governor certifies the results? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, Nora, first of all, I think that we're focused on the future. We need to figure out how to solve the inflation crisis caused by Kamala Harris's policies, make housing affordable, make groceries affordable, and that's what we're focused on. But I want to answer your question because you did ask it. Look, what President Trump has said is that there were problems in 2020, and my own belief is that we should fight about those issues, debate those issues peacefully in the public square, and that's all I've said, and that's all that Donald Trump has said. Remember, he said that on January the 6th, the protesters ought to protest peacefully. And on January the 20th, what happened? Joe Biden became the president, Donald Trump left the White House, and now, of course, unfortunately, we have all of the negative policies that have come from the Harris-Biden administration. I believe that we actually do have a threat to democracy in this country, but unfortunately, it's not the threat to democracy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz want to talk about. It is the threat of censorship. It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships because of disagreements over politics. It's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens. And it's Kamala Harris saying that rather than debate and persuade her fellow Americans, she'd like to censor people who engage in misinformation.
That's right.
I think that is a much bigger threat to democracy than anything that we've seen in this country in the last 4 years, in the last 40 years. Now, I'm really proud, especially given that I was raised by two lifelong blue-collar Democrats, to have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong leaders in the Democratic coalition. And of course, they don't agree with me and Donald Trump on every issue. We don't have to agree on every issue, but we're united behind a basic American First Amendment principle that we ought to debate our differences. We ought to argue about them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans. Kamala Harris is engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did it during COVID. She's done it over a number of other issues. And that, to me, is a much bigger threat to democracy than what Donald Trump said when he said that protesters should peacefully protest on January the 6th.
Phenomenal answer. You got to use their terminology against them.
I think there was a lot of commonality here, and I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator.
Me too, man.
There's one though that this one is troubling to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the story. Donald Trump refused to acknowledge this. And the fact is,
Nominal
I don't think we
answer.
can be the frog in the pot and let the boiling water go up. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he didn't. 140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day, some with the American flag. Several later died. And it wasn't just in there. In Minnesota, a group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, we're marching to the governor's residence and there may be casualties. The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by state police. That issue, and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Mike Pence made the right decision. So, Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know, and I said as a football coach, sometimes you really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands, and then you try and do everything you can to help the other side win.
Tell that to Hillary.
That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is the idea that imprisoning your political opponents, already laying the groundwork for people not accepting this. And a president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that. So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it, but to deny what happened on January 6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
Marvin? Senator Vance, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all, it's really rich for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country. We are going to shake hands after this debate and after this election. And of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it. But we have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Vladimir Putin because the Russians bought like $500,000 worth of Facebook ads. This has been going on for a long time. And if we want to say that we need to respect the results of the election, I'm on board. But if we want to say, as Tim Walz is saying, that this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history on this. Look, I don't understand how we got to this point. But the issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up. I just think for
banning pornography from kids.
And I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear. And I think there's a lot of agreement. But this is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the
masks.
governor does
That's
have the
not
floor.
Fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to
Please.
respond to you.
Damn.
Well, I don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other than in Donald Trump's world. Because look, when Mike Pence made that decision to certify that election, that's why Mike Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is, where is the firewall with Donald Trump? Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America.
What?
Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office, even if the president doesn't? And I think Kamala Harris would agree. She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that.
They're not in
Because of course
office.
That's what we would do. So, America, I think you've got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up.
He's
Thank you,
acting like
gentlemen.
J.D. Vance and
We
Trump
will
are
be
already
right back
president and
with
vice
both of
president.
Our candidates.
What the
CBS
hell did
News
I just
Vice
watch?
Presidential debate continues.
Dude, this is such a train wreck. Listen, man. Listen. I'm Trump 2024. I'm biased, dude. I'm super biased. I'm super right wing. You guys know me. And I'm just honest. I criticize Trump. I criticize J.D. Vance, Kamala Harris, everybody. I don't care. But this is bad. This is really bad. This is one of the worst election debates I've ever seen in my life. This is so... Dude, Tim Walz literally said that the Harris campaign is not pro-abortion. And then he goes on to, he literally said he's made friends with school shooters. Oh my God, dude, it's such a train wreck. So bad, dude, so bad. Oh man, JD Vance is just picking this guy apart. I love to debate, guys. When I first started doing like internet right-wing content, I did a lot of man on the street. I would debate leftists. I was super inspired by Owen Schroyer, the Cuck Destroyer. And I just would love to debate people. I love watching debates, right? And I could see how JD Vance just keeps, he keeps, listen, you got to understand when you are debating in front of an audience of tens of millions of people and you're trying to win voters, you use their own terminology against them to make your point. That is a master move. JD Vance just did that. And there's a lot of low IQ people that can't understand that. When JD Vance flips the whole threat of democracy talking point literally upside down on Kamala Harris and turns the conversation from January 6th, a threat to democracy, to Kamala Harris's pro-censorship against Americans, my God, dude. That was phenomenal. Phenomenal, dude. Phenomenal. We know we're a constitutional republic. We know that. The right wing gets that. JD Vance gets, he's not talking to us. He's not talking to you. He's talking to undecided voters that are used to hearing that terminology 24/7. Oh, you know what? He's right. The censorship is a greater threat to democracy. And bro, this is how you red pill people. If you can't understand that, dude, you're just low IQ, honestly. Like, if your response is, we're a constitutional republic, he's like, yeah, we know. We know. He's not talking to you. That's a debate tactic. Oh, that was great. That was great. JD Vance is doing great. He's triggering Tampon Tim. Tampon Tim is doing so bad. He is just unraveling, dude. He is getting ripped to shreds all over X right now. Just viral clip after dude. That statement. I have made friends with school shooters. That is going to go down in presidential election season debate history. Mark my words. That is going to go down in history. I have made friends with school shooters. Tampon Tim Walz. Dude, he just cooked himself. He just cooked himself. President Trump must be delighted right now with his selection with J.D. Vance. I'm not the biggest J.D. Vance fan, but this debate right here is spot on. This is spot on. Staying on subject, flipping subjects. Dude, JD's doing a really good job. He answers the question, and then mid-answer, he finds a way to flip the entire subject like around on itself to pin it on his opponent. And I am so happy to hear JD Vance not talking about Joe Biden. Notice how he keeps saying Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, Kamala. You got to keep it in the psyche of the American people. It's Kamala Harris, right? And Trump does this a lot. He keeps bringing up Joe Biden, but you got to stick on Kamala. She is the enemy. She's the opponent. But this is bad, guys. This is bad for Kamala.
Welcome back to the CBS News vice presidential debate. It is now time for the closing statement. Senator Vance won the virtual coin toss and elected to go last. So, Governor Walz, you are first. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you, Senator Vance. Thank you to CBS News. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. If you're still up and the folks who miss Dancing with Our Stars, I appreciate it. But look, the support of the democracy matters. It matters that you're here. And I'm as surprised as anybody of this coalition that Kamala Harris has built, from Bernie Sanders to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift, and a whole bunch of folks in between there. And they don't all agree on everything, but they are truly optimistic people. They believe in a positive future of this country and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you,
this guy's gay.
That better than it is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy that works for everyone, not just to get by, but to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something. Not the freedom of government to be in your bedroom or exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, look, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His first inaugural address talked about American carnage. And then he spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda.
So
he
will
will
we.
continue to push down that road. Excuse me.
Oh, God.
Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you, I'm going to be careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does resonate with me. He said, Donald Trump makes the people I care about afraid. A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself. Kamala Harris is bringing us a new way forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that.
No.
All the while asking everyone, join this movement, make your voices heard. Let's look for a new day where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance to thrive. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
She's
Governor
had 4
Walz,
years, dude.
Thank you.
We're done.
Senator Vance, your closing statement.
Let's
Well, I
go.
want to thank Governor Walz, you folks at CBS, and of course the American people for tuning in this evening. And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my grandmother, when she didn't have enough money to turn on the heat some nights because Ohio gets pretty cold at night and because money was often very tight. And I believe, as a person who wants to be your next vice president, that we are a rich and prosperous enough country where every American, whether they're rich or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle of a cold winter night. That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford a nice meal for your family. That's gotten harder because of Kamala Harris's policies.
That's right.
I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not have your communities flooded with fentanyl. And that too has gotten harder with Kamala because of Kamala Harris's policies. Now, I've been in politics long enough to do what Kamala Harris does when she stands before the American people and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail who can't afford food, but have the grace and generosity to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say, I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you. And thank you both for participating in the only vice presidential debate of this election cycle. I'm Margaret Brennan.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell. And a reminder, there are just 35 days until Election Day. Please get out and vote. And for all of us here at CBS News, thank you and good night.
Okay, get these whores out of here. Okay, I got to go see what the fake news is saying. There they are. Look, they're talking. Look at it. Look at this. Oh, there go the wives. Are the wives going to box?
And only vice presidential debate. This election is now complete. It was a cordial debate of the kind that people mostly say they want. You notice here the two candidates lingering on the stage. That's quite a difference from the presidential debate, in which it was not even sure that Vice President Harris and Donald Trump would shake hands. It was a debate in which the line, "I appreciate what Tim said about Finland," was one of the...
All right, dude. JD Vance killed it. All right, guys. I need to see what the fake news... I need to see how the mainstream media is going to react to this. There is no way. I mean, I won't be surprised if they do. But if these people try to run cover for that after that disastrous performance, unreal.
And on healthcare, on abortion.
Let's see.
On every issue on substance, J.D. Vance was very polished and very slick, and Tim Walz beat him on all the substantive points. At least that was my take on it. I do think that there was one very blunt, very easily
believes this
lie on a very important issue.
Nobody.
That is going to be real trouble for J.D. Vance coming out of this. Which was him saying, "I never supported a national ban on abortion."
This is not good.
J.D. Vance is bluntly on the record and on tape.
Nobody
saying,
cares.
"I want abortion to be
cares.
illegal nationwide." His actual quote was, "I certainly would like abortion to be illegal nationally."
Yeah, nobody cares.
"I never supported a national abortion ban."
This is all they could talk about.
Something you're
this is all they could ever talk about.
Campaign, particularly when so much of the country is mobilized on this issue of reproductive
rights. No, they're
rights,
not.
The first presidential election after the fall of Roe versus
Wade. Oh, dude, this is going to be Hillary all over again, guys.
Oh, why am I always first?
Because you lost the short straw.
This is going to be Hillary all over again.
J.D. Vance spent the night sort of building an intricate and beautiful fort out of toothpicks. And it was perfect. And at the end, he sneezed on it. The whole thing fell apart, and he had to walk out of that room over the broken toothpicks. I think that God bless the people who watched the whole thing and stayed locked in on it. I checked in with about 20 people all who do this and watch this for a living, and they were kind of in and out of some parts of it. But no matter how you watch this, if you cannot say what happened in 2020, and the only reason you're there is because what actually happened in 2020 is that Donald Trump sent his supporters to hang Mike Pence. Just ask them.
False. It's totally false.
And I think that
totally false.
Governor Walz had a lot of great moments. Tim Walz built that perfect artifice. I mean, J.D. Vance built this perfect artifice. He was speaking as though he were running to be Mitt Romney's vice. I mean, he spoke tonight. It was a performance that was kind of amazing and totally disconnected from the person who he's running with, Donald Trump.
But still unable to say that Trump lost the election in 2020.
In that moment,
unable to say it.
This is crazy.
I think everything that he did for 88 minutes was lost and wiped out by that one inability to tell
they don't even know what to say.
A huge television audience.
Chris,
well, that moment was the moment of the night. I mean, it's like, wait, why is he here? Oh, right. The Mike Pence thing, right? So that was the moment of the night.
No, it wasn't.
J.D. Vance is very good at this, right? I mean, this is what he's been doing since he was in college.
J.D. Vance did so well. He broke MSNBC.
But here's the other part of this, and he did that all perfectly fine. I thought Walz on the substance, particularly on healthcare, was very, very strong on healthcare, on the sort of basic of like the tax cuts and who you're fighting for. Again, these are meat and potato core messages. The two moments that I think kind of broke me a little bit, and I don't know about the median information level of the viewer, the level of gaslighting to say that
he just straight up said that their viewers are stupid. He's not lying.
Obamacare.
Like, really got up on national television and said that Donald Trump had saved Obamacare.
In a bipartisan way.
In a bipartisan way. And despite the fact trying to repeal it multiple times, and Walz did a very good fact check on that. And then I thought nothing was going to top that, but what topped it was he handed power over peacefully on January 20th. It's like,
said it twice.
Yes, when the coup failed.
Look at this retard.
And the cops' brains had all been bashed in, and there were actual dead bodies and blood on the Capitol. 14 days later, we did manage to actually.
The only dead body was Ashley Abbott.
Transfer of power, by the way. He said it's really rich for Democratic leaders to say Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th. And everybody's like,
he did.
What is that alternate universe in which that happened? I would like to visit. It seems nice and much less violent. Joy.
Yeah. I mean, at that moment when Tim Walz said, you really can't answer that question. You really can't say that Donald Trump lost the election. You can't do that. That was the moment of the night. But I was just going through and cataloging. You guys have mentioned some of them. He said there were 25 million undocumented immigrants in the country. It's probably more like 15, 16. He said that He repeatedly lied about Springfield again and did it so insistently that he had to have his mic muted because he kept trying to jump in and continue to lie about these people. He said they were brought in through something called the CBP-1 app, and that is an app that immigrants can use to come in and get a certain kind of visa. That was launched in 2020 under drumroll, Donald Trump. He says that he never supported a national abortion ban. I have
the app is being used.
That is already circulating all over social media. This is from the campaign website of J.D. Vance when he ran for the United States Senate.
Dude, J.D. Vance broke these people, dude. Look at this. Look at this.
He says he's 100% pro-life, believes abortion has turned our society into a place where we see children as an inconvenience, on and on and on. You also gave one of the quotes, I would certainly like to see abortion illegal nationally. He also said he was sympathetic to the view that a national ban would be necessary to stop women from traveling across states to obtain an abortion. So he's
nobody
in favor of a sort of
cares.
Fugitive Slave Act to stop abortion. So he said that as well. He blamed undocumented immigrants for everything from rising house prices, rising food prices, inflation, maybe ghosts and bad weather. I mean, he was blaming undocumented immigrants for every single thing. I think Tim Walz was really skillful in knocking those things down individually because he was speaking as a governor and could speak from his own experience. He did a great job talking about housing costs and how those actually worked. The bipartisan way to save healthcare was absolutely absurd. He said most of our solar panels are coming from China. It's literally the opposite. Google the Department of Education that says 80% of our solar panels come from, drumroll, the United States. Trump peacefully gave over power on January 20, kind of skipped January 6 when he was trying to overthrow the government. He couldn't answer the question, did Trump lose the election? A smooth lie is still a lie.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance is incredibly smooth, but he said, number one, nothing memorable. There's nothing clippable in what he said. They were just all smooth, bland lies. He got outdone by Tim Walz, who may be awkward. It took him a while to get warmed up, but he won the debate.
So now he's the weird one, huh, Joy?
He was relatable, and he didn't go in there to slay J.D. Vance. He went in there to show himself, and he showed himself to be bipartisan. He showed himself to be reasonable. He showed himself to be practical. He acted as a governor. And a lot of people are complaining that he didn't knock J.D. Vance out and that he wasn't rhetorically cruel. But that was not his job. It was obvious.
I thought they were a threat to democracy, so now we're being nice to dictators?
He did that very well. He won the debate.
I wrote a note to myself that he was not on offense against Vance in the first half of the debate. And then he came back after that break, right? After the break, it was like just destroyed him on healthcare. And then the January 6th, January 20th thing, I mean, I scratched out.
Notice how they're not talking about the gun control
against Vance for the first half of the debate, and then he came
one
back
of their favorite issues.
Made up for it. Lawrence.
You know, he will be remembered for that final exchange about, did Trump lose the election? And he doesn't answer. His technique is to not answer. It makes him, by the way, the very first vice presidential candidate in history who doesn't know who won the last. That's his place.
Keep laughing. This is not how voters feel about this.
It came at the end of a long list of questions that he simply didn't answer. He said words, but didn't answer. For example, the first one he didn't answer. Norah O'Donnell asked him, Donald Trump says climate change is a hoax. Do you agree? That's a one-word answer, yes or no. He didn't answer that. He just kept talking. He was then asked, will you, Margaret Brennan asked him.
All right, that's enough of the fake news. I like to see what they're saying because it kind of lets me know where they're going with things. And I will tell you this right now. I will tell you this right now. If by some miracle we get a free and fair election, and by some miracle President Trump wins, and I'm not saying that because I don't think Trump is a strong enough candidate. After this, my God, they have to reach. They don't know what to say. They're complimenting JD Vance's performance, but trying to discredit it and mock it at the same time. This is how you know that they were literally broken by JD Vance. JD Vance literally broke MSNBC and the fake news mainstream media. Listen, dude, let me just tell you this. I'll put it to you this way. This is exactly what was happening in 2016. This is exactly, listen, every day in the election cycle, I was watching the fake news. I was watching MSNBC. I was watching CNN. I was watching them, and then I would watch Fox. I would listen to Trump's speeches, right? I would listen to Hillary. I was listening to everything, and what I remember from 2016 was this delusional mockery of Trump and this delusional, like, almost like out of touch belief that Trump is completely incapable of beating Hillary Clinton. That's just watching that 5 minutes of MSNBC right there is exactly what I'm seeing again. And this is developing. We're going to end up in another 2016 scenario. And you want to know what else really stuck out to me? They bring up January 6th. And they bring up the same lies that Trump was trying to overthrow the government and all of his supporters on January 6, 2021. And the moderators alongside of Tampon Tim, they try to really, really give some fuel to the narrative that are you going to accept the results? Are you going to accept if Kamala Harris wins? Are you going to accept if Tim Walz becomes the vice president? Are you willing to accept this? You know what's interesting about this? Current U.S. intelligence agencies right now are already saying that Russia, that Iran, and that China, the FBI held a press conference. Okay? The FBI held a press conference with Attorney General Merrick Garland. Already doing the preliminary, priming the masses. They're already saying that Russia is already meddling and interfering with this upcoming election. Same with China and same with Iran. And they're trying to tie in that narrative that Iran is trying to affect our elections by trying to kill President Trump. What I find interesting about that is how during that segment on J6 and the threat to democracy, I find it interesting that they didn't bring that up. You want to know why that's interesting? Because what they're doing is they have to keep Trump a threat. They have to keep Trump a threat in that moment. They have to make sure that it's Trump that is the one that is going to reject election results. They have to keep people. They have to keep the psyche of the viewers and the listeners. They have to keep Trump in the minds of millions of people as the one who will not accept election results. Now, why do I say that? Because they're doing two things at once. So that tells me that they're getting prepared to reject the results if Trump wins, while at the same time, if the riggers are successful, and the riggers are going to try, There will be tens of millions of illegal aliens voting in this upcoming election just 33 days from now. Where are we, 33, 35 days from now? And so either the too big to rig theory is going to have to end up being correct, or the riggers will prevail. And they're kind of setting the stage for both scenarios. Because if Trump slaughters and wins again, and it's a landslide, and by some miracle he gets in, they will not certify the election. It's not going to happen. And we're going to end up in an insane constitutional crisis between November and January. If you think for 1 second that Kamala Harris is going to certify this election if Trump wins, if you actually believe that, you're delusional. You are delusional. While at the same time, if they rig it, and it's openly obvious that they rigged it, because there are way more eyeballs on this upcoming election, guys. There's way more poll workers, volunteers, undercover reporters. Trust me. There's a lot more eyeballs on this election. A lot of the voter rolls have been cleansed in Texas and various other states, right? And so there have been some changes. The big question is, will it be enough? That's the big question. Will it be enough? And I think that's where America is currently at and asking themselves. And it kind of seems like the deep state is ready for any outcome, is my point that I'm making here. And you kind of saw that in the debate in that final question. But listen, man, the fact that Tampon Tim came out and said that the Harris campaign is not pro-abortion is so insane. I just cannot believe the magnitude of how bad this was a disaster. I cannot believe it. It was terrible. This was really bad. And you saw it all over Tampon Tim Wall's face. And also when Tampon Tim, and notice how the mainstream media, we sat there and listened to all of their takes. Notice how they're not talking about the gun control. You want to know why? Because Tampon Tim butchered it, dude. He butchered it. Again, he comes out and says, the vice president is a gun owner. I'm a gun owner. And we're not trying to fearmonger and say we're coming after your guns. But you know what? Sometimes it's the guns. It's just the guns. It's just the guns. Dude, it's such a train wreck, man. It's so bad. And listen, people that are invested in politics, people that this is your life, you're constantly reading up on what's going on inside the political landscape in America and geopolitically as well. You and I see that and we're like, dude, this is a disaster. We're not falling for that. But I will tell you, normies and undecided voters, they watch that, they hear that, and that ain't cutting it, dude. That ain't cutting it at all. Because I will tell you, the majority of their base, I'm not talking about undecided voters, the majority of their base, you want to know what their base wants to hear from them? Their base wants to hear from them that they want to ban assault weapons, that they want to ban firearms. That's what they want to hear. And Tim Walz is looking so shaky on that stage and so unsure of himself and totally petrified because he is. Because he doesn't know which way to go. Do I try to appear to be a moderate, or do I lean into who I really am, a hardcore leftist? And he totally bombed on it. He straight up came out and said that I have made friends with school shooters. When I heard that, dude, I'm like, what the hell did I just hear? The first part of the debate, total train wreck. Tim Walz is just choking on himself, not making his points. We knew it would be a 3-on-1. They're literally muting JD Vance's microphone in order to run cover for Tampon Tim. Especially, notice how quickly they got off of the subject of illegal immigration. Did you see that? And the moment when JD Vance starts to really lean into it, that's when the CBS boss girls, right, with the mute kill switch, starts to kill JD Vance's mic because they know that JD Vance is really going to inform the general public on what's going on. They even lie. The CBS moderators even lied. They lied to the American people. You see, this is what doesn't work. They did not learn from 2016. They didn't learn. They're doing it again. They did not learn. The top two issues in this election for Americans, doesn't matter where you're at, poll after poll after poll after poll, Americans across the nation, the top two issues, inflation, the fallen economy, and the open border. It's not abortion. It's not, they are trying so hard to make this an issue. And I'm telling you, that's going to backfire. That's going to backfire miserably. That's going to backfire miserably. Americans don't care, dude. It's not an issue. They don't care. They don't give a damn. We're not thinking about abortion. No one cares about this. When your bank account is getting gutted. My gosh, dude, your bank account is getting gutted. Illegal aliens are killing and raping and stuffing your family members in storm drains. They don't give a damn about abortion. They are trying so hard to make it an issue. But you know what? I will also say this, is that on these issues, Tim Walz did not even represent them. He didn't represent them correctly. Tim Walz did not represent them even on a level where it's just straight lying, gaslighting, projecting, deflecting. It was very interesting. Like all these subs, every single one of them. Like, because usually we just get like the lying talking points, right? But dude, Tim didn't. He just bombed it, dude. He bombed it. Bombed it. Here's a clip. There's already a viral clip of CNN. Check this out. There's already a viral clip of CNN admitting that Tim Walz bombed the debate and says J.D. Vance was the much more experienced debater. Check this out. Holy crap.
I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz's part.
I think actually it's the opposite. I think he had too much preparation.
Maybe, yeah.
He had so many lines that he was clearly trying to say that he didn't listen and said when J.D. Vance said one of the many things he really hit Kamala Harris on, not Tim Walz, but Kamala Harris, he didn't respond because he clearly had things in his mind. I think the lack of interviews that he has done with national media, with local media, it showed. He needed more reps.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself, at pivoting.
I think there was a clear lack of preparation and execution here on Walz's part.
I think actually
Walz is cooked.
I think he had too much preparation.
Maybe, yeah.
He had so many lines that he was clearly trying to say that he didn't listen and said when J.D. Vance said one of the many things he really hit Kamala Harris on, not Tim Walz, but Kamala Harris, he didn't respond because he clearly had things in his mind. I think the lack of interviews that he has done with national media, with local media, it showed. He needed more reps.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, J.D. Vance is much more experienced at this, at public speaking, at defending himself.
Wow, dude. J.D. Vance broke MSNBC and J.D. Vance broke CNN tonight. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Nobody's gonna sit here. Nobody's gonna sit here and say that Tim Walz won that debate, dude. No, but nobody. You can't make that case after what we just witnessed. Holy crap, dude. You know what? Mainstream media, keep lying. Go do that. Go lie. Go try to say that Tim Walz won it. But they're already saying that Tim Walz blew it. But we want them to lie because you want to know what the American people just witnessed? Tim Walz just bodied himself, dude. He literally just bodied himself. And J.D. Vance just provided the news for him to hang himself with. Wow, dude. Wow. Not surprised, though. Tim Walz is a very uneducated retard. And he's become a meme, dude. He is being memed everywhere. Look at this. Let's just look at X real quick. Let's take a look at X. Look at this, dude. This is just insane. Unreal. Look at Tampon Tim, dude. What a freak. What a freak. Totally bomb. That is not the look of someone you want to be leading the nation, okay? That is not the look of someone you want to be leading the nation. Oh, this was so good for us. This was so good for us. JD Vance. JD Vance, dude. JD Vance. Oh, I can't believe he said some of this stuff tonight, though, dude. I really can't. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah, here's the winner. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. Tim Walz won, right? Tim Walz won. Give me a break, dude. Look at this guy. This guy's lost. He's not ready. He's not ready for this. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's dangerous. But it's totally backfired on the Harris campaign, dude. What a disaster. What a freaking disaster, dude. Jeez. Unreal. Let's take a look at this. Okay, dude, look at this. Look at these memes, dude. He's getting memed hard, dude. Look at this. Tampon Tim. This dude straight cooked himself, man. This dude straight cooked himself. Hey, if you're just tuning in, subscribe to the channel right now. Subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button. We're trying to get to 91K by 90K. We'd like to be to 91K, but we're trying to get to 90K by Inauguration Day. That's the goal. 90K by Inauguration Day. That's the goal, dude. This is crazy. Did Trump just post this? Oh my gosh. No way. No! No, this isn't real. Oh man, W Trump. W Trump if he's leaning into this. Where's it at? Oh my, it's real. Holy crap. It's real. It's real. Oh, W Trump. It's real. Look at I've become friends with school shooters. Tim Walz. Oh my God, dude. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. Dude, that has to be one of the biggest mistakes ever made in a presidential vice president, whatever you want to call it, dude. Election season debate. That has to be one of the biggest mistakes ever made. Holy crap. I've become friends with school shooters. I swear I thought I heard that wrong. When I first heard it, I was like, dude, there's no way he said that. He did not just say that. I got to retweet this CNN thing. Hold on. Where's the school shooter thing, dude? I cannot believe he said this.
I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA.
Wow.
I've become friends with school shooters. I've seen it. Look, the NRA. I've become friends with.
I've become friends with school shooters. Holy crap, dude. Oh, dude, what a mistake. What a mistake.
And we say bye-bye.
Wow. Wow. This is so bad. So bad. This is why there won't be another debate. What a way to end the debate. What a way to end the debates of this election cycle. What a way, dude. Shout out to JD Vance. Shout out to JD Vance. Wow. CNN admits Tampon Tim got bodied and lost the debate. Boom, I just tweeted it. Did I? think so.
Oh, we're going.
If you're following me on X, retweet it, please. And if you're not following me, go follow me now. The link's in the description. x.com/DrewHLive. That's a big clip. That's a big clip, dude. Oh, that is so funny, dude. This guy is a total disaster. Total disaster, man. This is not what you want. Here's where Tampon Tim cooked himself. Look right here, right here, right
ends
here.
up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community. And then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
He cooked himself. He cooked himself. He straight up cooked himself, dude. He jumped in the pot and turned up the heat. He cooked himself. JD Vance didn't have to do anything. He's just standing there. I really wish JD Vance would have brought up more of the stolen valor stuff, because that is just bad. It's terrible. But of course, the moderators didn't bring it up because it's one of the worst things. Missed opportunity. Huge missed opportunity on JD Vance. He did great, but he really should have brought that up. Just completely neutralized Tim Walz. Because he gets like that when he gets put in a corner. He gets like that. Tim Walz is not a fighter, dude. He's not. He's not. He's a little beta. He's the guy that likes to, spread his cheeks and get dominated. You know what I'm saying? He's a little beta. He's a little beta. But social media is having a field day on this, dude. They are just, nobody could sit here and say, nobody could sit here and say that Tim Walz did a great job. Let me see. Let's see if Kamala has said anything. Let's see. Las Vegas. Nothing. Okay, nothing on the official account. Let's look this up. Let's see. What can you say? What do you say? You know what I mean? Like, what is there to be said after that? This guy failed you big time. Nothing. She's not saying anything. Nothing on X, at least. Let's see. Nope. Nothing. Wow. Not even a word from Kamala Harris. Unless she's speaking somewhere else. If you guys maybe want to find it. That's so bad, dude. So bad. Oh man. I told you guys it would be an Israel shill fest for like the first. I think we got that for like the first 20 minutes. They spent almost half an hour on that. That was bad, dude. That was really bad. And they're having a hard time trying to run cover for Tampon Tim in the mainstream media. What looks like Chris Cuomo has weighed in. He's getting seriously criticized. Let's see. He must have said something that's not allowed. Let's see.
At one point, Vance wanted to correct something about how Haitians got into this country. And he was right, and the moderators wouldn't let him correct it. It's very interesting. Now, to the control room, Paige, do you want to play some sound right now, or do you want to go to Geraldo? Good. Here's a little taste of what happened tonight in the national conversation. That's Geraldo.
Nora,
but
thank you, Senator. We
saw that.
You gentlemen.
There you have it. Well, there you have it. And look, Vance was right. Okay? There's nuance to it. But the bigger problem is why he was moved on. We've got so much to get to. This says who? You know what I mean? Like, what is the schedule here? So you have a list of topics? That's not what it's about. It's about how the American people can access these two men and the two theories and the narratives, and you've got to let them have their speech.
And this is the biggest issue in this election, the illegal immigration. What do you mean we have to move on? We got a lot to get. No, we want to talk about this. As voters, this is what we want to talk about.
Because now you created a story where you're the problem, which...
Unreal, dude. Unreal. Is JD on Fox? Is he talking? Usually he does. Yeah, he is. Let's see what JD's saying.
So now you came from there to here. Not a bad story. You just need we need to get to the final chapter.
That's exactly right, man.
35 days. Can you believe it?
35 days. I can't believe it, but I think we're in a sprint. We're going to work as hard as we can for every single vote. Look, man, I feel amazing about the polls. Yeah. If you look at the pollsters who've been most accurate, actually we're in a better place than we were in 2016. And of course, Donald Trump won the election in 2016. Yeah. I mean, look, I feel very good about it. I think the energy is great. You mentioned my mom. She's probably watching now. I love you, Mom. I'm proud of you. She's been clean and sober, by the way, for almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
And
thank God.
It's Sean, man, the American
JD Vance made that look easy.
Is an American dream of second chances, right? If people, they fall off the horse, but they keep on getting back on. And I think that we need leadership that makes those second chances possible. That is what the presidency of Donald Trump represents. It's not just about red team versus blue team. Like, I'm going to beat the Democrats, and it'll be fun on November 5th to beat the Democrats. Donald Trump is the next president. The people that I care most about are going to have better lives, and that is what this is all about.
Let's go.
About the forgotten men and women.
Yes.
You know, I mentioned my grandparents and my parents, and I feel I stand on their shoulders. And I know you feel you stand on the shoulders. Of course. And that's the dream of every American, in my view. And that's the shining city on a hill that Reagan talked about, right?
And my mama is... is smiling from heaven. I'm running for vice president of the greatest country in the world.
What an incredible story of an incredible
woman. What a great testament to our country.
It's great to see you. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks,
Great job tonight.
Take care.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, now here with more reaction to tonight's debate, Senator Ted Cruz is with us, himself a champion.
All right, I actually have a couple clips from JD when he started talking, and I wanted to hear what he said on the subject of illegal immigration during this post-debate interview with Sean. I don't really like Sean Hannity, but I want to hear this, what he has to say.
It's actually due to Kamala Harris's open border. You take 25 million illegal aliens. Much of our problem is actually due to Kamala Harris's open border. You take 25 million illegal aliens. So take a small community. Let's say you've got a school district with 4,000 or 5,000 kids. Now all of a sudden you add 1,000 kids who can't speak English through no fault of their own, of course. Yeah. But of course, the American education system, the education for our kids suffers in the process. Hospital wait times. A point I actually didn't get to make this evening, but hospital wait times have gotten longer and longer. Why? Because a lot of illegal aliens go to the hospital emergency room to get medical care. Well, that means American citizens aren't able to be seen by a doctor quickly. Housing is, I think, actually the biggest issue. A major driver of housing costs is that you have millions of foreigners who are illegally in the country who are competing with Americans for scarce homes. That's supply and demand and shoots the cost of housing through the roof. And this is why I talk about substance. My goal was to talk about substance tonight because I think a lot of Americans sort of intuitively get this country's leadership has failed it. And I just try to explain as much as possible. Here's why Kamala Harris has been a failure. Here's why Donald Trump has been a success. And here's how we're going to clean up the mess that she created.
That's right. And that's one thing that I really liked what JD Vance did tonight is that he put all blame on Kamala Harris. Remove Joe Biden from the situation. Remove Joe Biden from the conversation. Trump needs to be doing that a lot more. Like, Joe Biden doesn't mean anything right now. It's all Kamala Harris. Just pin it all on her, dude. Because she's been in the White House, too, for the past nearly 4 years.
We don't have a president that we can actually trust. I don't even know who the president of the United States is. And that's one thing we didn't actually get into the debate that I really wanted to hammer Kamala Harris on, is that for 3.5 years, America has been saddled with a president of the United States who can't do the job. And the reason is because Kamala Harris lied and said he was up to the job of president, and of course he wasn't. And now we're in this, we've got this terrible crisis in Appalachia, these terrible floods, a lot of people affected. We've got this regional war breaking out in the Middle East, and we don't have effective American leadership. Look, I think what our response is fundamentally, this is Israel's security, and they have to make the decision about how they're best going to protect their own security. And they need the
and I don't want to pay for it.
Support of their American allies, not Joe Biden, as confused as he is, standing behind them, effectively promising that he's going to punish them if they dare defend their own sovereignty and their own security. Israel is actually very good at this stuff. It's one of the great things about Israel as an ally, unlike, frankly, a lot of so-called American allies, is they have a viable military, they have a viable intelligence service. They're going to make their own decision about how to protect their sovereignty. I think our role here, support our friends, and also get back to some common sense foreign and economic policies so that we can be strong enough to respond to the next national security challenge.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for it, bro. So, as long as you don't get into this damn territory where I got to keep paying for Israel's wars, then we're good. Sick of it. Sick of it. We're America first. We got to take care of our own first. That's where we're at. It looks like MSNBC is totally melting down. Let's take a look. Look at this. Viral clip, viral clip.
It's the audacity. I agree with you that we're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop.
Dude, she doesn't even know what she's saying. She sounds drunk. Look at it. She sounds drunk.
We're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop. Are you effing kidding me? And they should have dropped that F-bomb, right? I mean, they should have just, this is a debate. This may be the only chance people have to see the difference. It's the audacity. I agree with you that we're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop.
Dude, I gotta retweet this.
Are you effing kidding me? And they should have dropped that F-bomb, right? I mean, they should. They should have just, this is a debate. This may be the only chance people have to see the difference. It's the audacity. I agree with you that we're in year 9 and no one knows how to cover the audacity. The audacity is that someone should have said, stop it, stop. Are you effing kidding me? And they should have dropped that F-bomb, right? I mean, they should have just, this is a debate. This may be the only chance people have to see the difference.
Holy crap, dude. Dude, this is bad. This is bad, dude. Look at that. She lost it. I'm telling you. This is going to be Hillary all over again. It's going to be Hillary all over again. I'm telling you. And by the way, we will be covering the election. Election afternoon. Election. I'm going to be streaming all day. I don't think we're going to get an announced winner on election night. I think we're going to have an election week. But we'll be covering it. We'll be covering it. So subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, hit that bell notification. We'll be covering everything on election night. But we'll see where this thing goes, dude. These people are melting down, dude. Holy crap. JD Vance broke everybody. He broke them all, dude. This is very, very interesting performance and very interesting results. Very interesting results. And they're trying really hard. They're trying really hard to pin the failure on JD Vance, but nah, dude. Nah. Not after what we witnessed. Not after that. We witnessed Tim Walz bodied himself, JD Vance bodied him. Simultaneously, dude. Simultaneously. And there's been viral footage, actually, that has surfaced recently of a prior debate during the midterms in 2022 of Tim Walz bragging about importing illegal aliens into Minnesota. Yeah, this is who this guy is.
We have more refugees per capita than any other state. That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school. We have more refugees per capita than any other state.
Refugees. Translation, illegal aliens, okay?
That's not just morally a good thing. It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school.
He's literally bragging about replacement migration. Just out in the open, dude. Out in the open. This was bad.
It's our economic and cultural future. This beautiful diversity we see out in Worthington when I'm there, you see 50 languages spoken in the school.
He's literally bad. This is really bad, dude. This is really bad. But on the closing statements, Tampon Tim just choking on his words. He does what they do, like the body language just speaks for itself. Like when people are really trying hard and hoping that they're convincing you through their lies and they're hoping that they're believable, their eyes get all big. Come on, please believe me. It's like this. The body language speaks desperation. Tim Walz was doing that all night. While JD Vance is just chilling, answering questions. This was easy for JD Vance. JD Vance seems like a very highly intellectual person. And this, debating someone low IQ and retarded, like Tampon Tim. Tampon Tim is Tampon Tim is intelligent when it comes to his works of evil and darkness, because he's probably demon-possessed, at the least demonically guided and influenced. But on an intellectual level, on the subjects, you could even tell that Tampon Tim just didn't have answers for things, like basic questions. Basic questions, but we need the mass deportations. It's gonna happen. It needs to take place. America needs to get ready for it. Because when it does happen, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild. I'm interested to see when they start interviewing voters. That's what I like to see, when the voters come out and they're just like, yeah, Tim Walz did horrible. Here's one. Dr. Phil just put out one. Let's see what the result is. Do you agree with this opinion on Walz's comments on gun control? Let's see.
Did you hear anything tonight that really disturbed you from either candidate? Something you heard from them that said, yes, sir, stand up, say your first name.
And the thing that concerned me the most was when they were talking about guns. Walz just ended by saying, sometimes it's just the guns. That, that jarred. JD was trying to explain to us how mental health plays an issue, other things plays an issue. He wasn't pinpointing it. Walz said, well, sometimes it's just the guns. That's scary to put that in the hands of government.
Yeah, I thought about that when you said it, because you know, make these New Year's resolutions. And one time I got some jogging shoes and I put them on the front porch and the damn things just wouldn't jog. Things just wouldn't jog. I thought when he said it, because you know, make these New Year's resolutions, and one time I got some jogging shoes and I put them on the front porch and the damn things just wouldn't jog.
roasted by Dr. Phil. My gosh, dude. My gosh. No disrespect to Dr. Phil. But come on, dude. How are you going to be getting bodied by Dr. Phil, bro? That's how you know it's bad. Jeez. That's how you know it's bad. Ah, dude, I can't wait. I want to see CNN interview voters and get their react. It's so funny when they do that, dude. Oh, here we go. They're doing it. They're doing it.
Expertise making these decisions, I believe that was very important, and that in turn made me, turn my favorability towards him.
Yeah, we're having a positive reaction. There was another moment, I think, for Senator Vance that got a very positive response, and that was on the issue of abortion. Take a listen.
I want us as a Republican Party to be
Damn it, I hope we
pro-family
didn't
in the
miss too
fullest
much.
sense of the word. I want us to support fertility treatments. I want us to make it easier for moms to afford to have babies. I want it to make it easier for young families to afford a home so they can afford a place to raise that family. And I think there's so much that we can do on the public policy front just to give
This is
women
fake.
more
Look at this
options.
on screen.
Now, Karen, this has obviously been a huge debate in this election throughout the course of the last several months. You're expecting, congratulations, by the way, that's pretty awesome. What did you hear in that comment from Senator Vance?
Personally, I believe that on the Republican side, it sounded very progressive, more so than I expected tonight.
Wow.
Just saying that they should have a choice was a complete different response than I was expecting again. So hearing that coming from the vice president, well, potential, was encouraging.
He meant the states.
All right, so that's where we are right now. We'll have a little bit more later on. Jake, back to you.
All right, Phil Mattingly, thanks so much. Let's go over to Caitlin Collins right now. Caitlin?
Oh, Trump Jr.
Thanks, Jake. I'm here in the spin room with Donald Trump Jr. You urged your dad to pick J.D. Vance as his running mate famously a few months ago. How do you think he did tonight?
I thought it was a masterclass. It was just an incredible performance, just real command of the facts. Didn't let sort of the fake fact check, try to steamroll him. He came back with actual facts. I think he literally won every issue across the board. I think he was actually very comfortable on so many of the issues that Republicans tend to fail. He was probably more comfortable in those issues than most Republicans are, even on our strong points. So I think it was an incredible debate.
Do you think he was more comfortable in those issues than your dad was in the last debate?
Well, I don't think, it wasn't necessarily a 3-on-1 debate. It started that way. I think J.D. Vance shut that down, and there were rules, and we said they should be enforced. Those rules were not enforced with my father. I think what happened in his debate was absolutely disgusting, and I think the American people witnessed that. I think they saw the bias that's out there in the media. I think they see that we are literally up against $1 trillion of mainstream media. You're up against $1 trillion of big tech functioning as the marketing department for the other side. But the reality is, Caitlin, the world is watching what's going on right now. They see it when they go to the grocery stores on a daily basis. They watch Iran, not through proxies, but directly attacking Israel right now. We could be on the brink of World War III. You notice how those things didn't happen under Donald Trump. You may not like everything that he says. You may not always like his demeanor. But the dictators of the world understood strength. They understood the resolve that we saw after he got shot in the face coming back to fight. And they didn't trifle with that. We've been leading with incompetence and weakness for 4 years. The world has watched, and they've capitalized on that. Our enemies, Iran, wants Kamala Harris to be president. They've said that. They've leaked documents to her, stolen from our campaign, that they hacked. Russia has said they want Kamala Harris to be president because a weak America is good for Russia. A weak America is good for Iran, and a weak America is great for China, all of whom are chomping at the bit for a Harris-Walz administration and the continuation of the Biden policies that have failed America for the last 3.5 years.
Well, and I should note, when you talk about Iran, Iran did hit American troops when your dad was in office. I covered that, and today he was asked about that. He likened the traumatic brain injuries to headaches. But on the debate itself, it was very civil. They acknowledged when they agreed. They gave each other the benefit of the doubt. Should we see more of that on the debate stage when your dad's up there?
You know what? I'd love to see that across the board. Sometimes the political climate isn't that much. We've all heard about Trump derangement syndrome. We've seen what they've lied about my family. I was an agent of Russia. But Hunter Biden's laptop was totally Russian disinformation. Turns out the opposite was true. The media did that. They created so much of that environment. The media has radicalized the people that are trying to kill my father. I've had to deal with that twice now in the last 2 months. I've had to have that conversation with my 5 young children twice in the last 2 months about someone trying to shoot their grandfather.
Jeez.
You know, that didn't just magically happen. That's not him. That's a media-created fake Russia scenario. They ran with it for years. Even when it was disproven, they still ran with it. You know, that environment wasn't just created by Donald Trump.
Okay, but can I say, you can't blame, and everyone wants your dad to be safe. No one wants the threats against his life to happen, but you can't blame the media for those threats. There's been no evidence.
Yes, you can.
And allows people to have a platform to call someone literally Hitler every day for 9 years, it creates it. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's a fact.
But as you know, J.D. Vance once likened your dad to Hitler as well. He questioned if he was American Hitler. But I want to talk about the debate. Do you want your dad to do another debate after seeing tonight?
You know what? I don't think he can have a chance at getting a fair debate. I don't think there's moderators out there that will do that. I think there are probably Fox moderators that are so worried about even trying to appease the left that they'd actually maybe even.
Well, your dad said CNN gave him a fair debate.
Well, he offered to do the Fox debate. Just so we're clear, my father weeks ago said, I'll do a Fox debate too. Kamala Harris turned that down because she can only go in, like she can only do an interview with a sidekick like Tim Walz on her side. She can only do it when she knows she's going to have that upper hand. So I don't think in this environment you can do it. The reality is this. What's unique about this election is you had 4 years under Trump. You had 4 years under Harris-Biden. We know the policies are going to be the same because she cut and pasted them onto her webpage and didn't even change the source code. So you can have more of the last 4 years, or we can go back to a time of peace and prosperity. It's a very simple choice.
But
people can go into a grocery store today. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And the answer is no.
On your argument about your dad doing another debate, obviously he has said right now that he thinks another debate would be too late. But is he letting J.D. Vance, his running mate, it would be his vice president, have the last word in that case?
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I mean, I think they get along great. I think
phenomenal.
Again, JD's debate performance tonight totally speaks for itself. The reality is this. I mean, I commented on Twitter. I'm watching. Tim Walz is listening to JD. I think he's voting for us.
He
was nodding along in agreement on all of the things that JD was saying because he actually spoke with facts. He called out all of the nonsense. And I think it was an absolute masterclass performance.
Well, and Vance said he agreed with Governor Walz on some things as well. Donald Trump Jr., thank you for your time tonight. Jake, back to you.
Well, that was a lot. Coming up, the first results from CNN's instant poll of debate watchers. Who came out on top, do they think? Much more of our special coverage right after a quick break.
Oh, we already know. We already know. I want to see the poll, but I want to see them talk to the voters because that's the funny part is when they don't get the answers that they want. Oh, Jen Psaki's on MSNBC. I don't want to watch that. It's going to give me a headache. I'm interested to see what CNN's poll is. I mean, we know they're going to give it a Walz. They're going to give it a Walz. They're going to give it a Walz. Balls to the walls. Tim Walz. Tampon Tim Walz. Balls to the walls. Spread them cheeks, bruh. Unreal, dude. The moderators were literally trying to say the illegal aliens, the Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, have citizenship. Can you believe that? It's just another 3-on-1. You know what I mean? But yeah, J.D. Vance went into that debate tonight knowing it was going to be that. But I lost count. Guys, I lost count how many times Tim Walz was just nodding in agreement. Just nodding in agreement with J.D. Vance all night long. I lost count. I don't know about you guys, but I literally lost count. Oh, Schroyer just tweeted, Tim Walz is the kind of guy who takes kids to drag queen story time. Oh, cooked. 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 Oh, that was funny, dude. Tim Walz is friends with school shooters. Yeah, they're losing it. They're losing it. Look at they're accusing JD Vance of mansplaining tonight.
Like commuting powers. And I actually think if you're a woman, that might be the worst moment JD Vance had because he was going to mansplain right over that mute button. He was, and again, I don't pretend to know how everyone will react to this.
They don't even know what to say. They don't. Well, we're going back to 2017 terminology. Mansplaining.
I think that a lot of women in positions of authority that should command respect just by virtue of that dynamic will see themselves in some dude that disrespected them and talked over. You know, I mean, there was a moment like that with then vice presidential in the Harris-Pence debate where she's.
Dude, they don't know what to say. They're speechless. Not a good night for the Harris campaign. Not a good night. I'll just say that. Ugh, they can't even lie their way out of this. Can't. Nobody's gonna buy it. I mean, they will. They'll try. They will. They'll try. But everybody knows JD Vance won. Everybody knows. Let's do a poll here in the chat. We got 2,600 people live. Who do you guys think won tonight's debate? Put a T for Tampon Tim, or just write JD for JD Vance. T for Tampon Tim or JD for JD Vance. Who won? Who won tonight, guys? Obvious question. Who won? Watch this chat light up. Watch this chat light up. Oh, that was good. That was good. Yep. WJD Vance. All right, let's see if they show this poll. Let's see. Let's see.
The vice presidential debate between Governor Tim Walz and Senator J.D. Vance, which just wrapped up a short time ago here in New York, New York. The city's so nice, they named it twice. We're getting reaction right now from both campaigns after the mostly civil showdown. Let's go to CNN's Kristen Holmes. She covers the Trump-Vance campaign. Kristen, what kind of reaction are you picking up after the debate?
Well, Jake, this is very different from the kind of reaction we heard after Donald Trump's debate against Kamala Harris. A lot of celebration. Now, the former president himself watched the debate and the coverage on the way down to Texas. He's going down there for a fundraiser tomorrow.
Okay. I want to see the poll. I just can't. I can't watch it anymore. We've watched enough to kind of see where they're going. They're for sure in damage control.
J.D. Vance was able to pretend that he's more rational or logical seeming in these 90 minutes than he is day to day. And whether that works for him politically is a point. But there were those revelations. And so when he's caught there, unable to acknowledge the winner of the last election, who's the current president, which is a giveaway that you're still working within the big lie, and double down on what he said, which is we want to throw it to the Congress. Everything else is BS. That's where I think our friend Nicole Walsh was calling for the F-bombs. And I'll give you one. It was frivolous. It was a frivolous claim, as far as I can go. Blood pressure just went. A different F-bomb on MSNBC, as far as we're going to go here, family television. But that was important because, you want to stand up and go, wait a minute. And I thought, basically, Walz was able to do some of it. The moderators, I thought, did a decent job, but they didn't do a ton in that moment to be like, this is nuts. The
Not their job.
Standing up here is promising another, and again, I say bloodless. He did not, I'm not saying he advocated a Proud Boys insurrection, but he did advocate the end of American democracy.
But that's the whole enchilada, right? Discussing healthcare, the economy, all that stuff is nonsense. It's, are you going to accept the outcome of the election?
Healthcare is nonsense.
Participating in politics,
or is this just before the war?
Yes.
That's the question here, right?
While you're suffering to pay for medical health care, it's nonsense, according to these people.
That people vote on who's in power, because those are the only two choices. And to not be able to get a clear answer on that is, as you say, the enchilada. On the point, actually, this is not on this point, but this is something, Joy, that I want to show you. Because I know that you and I are old enough and have similar enough internet tastes that you remember Dramatic Chipmunk. Do you remember Dramatic Chipmunk? It turns out it was Dramatic Prairie Dog. Do we have Dramatic Chipmunk? No, not the Honey Badger. Do we have it? It's the, I thought it was a intriguing. Yeah, hold on. Where is it? What? Come on.
Dude, they're trying really hard.
Instance in the vice presidential debate tonight where J.D. Vance
Cringe.
was looking at Tim Walz, looking at him from the side, and then turned without moving his head and raised the eyebrow to the camera.
This is all
like
they
that,
got.
Basically to make eye contact with the audience at home. Like, do you believe this guy?
The left can't meme.
Anyway, I just wanted to say, go ahead.
J.D. Vance said that Donald Trump peacefully turned over
The left can't meme. Dude, that was brutal. Holy crap. They're screwed. They are screwed. They got nothing. They got nothing. But guys, this is the reality. You know, and these people don't live in reality. They don't live in our world. These people have multi-million-dollar deals. They're not hurting from inflation. They don't see these problems we're facing. They don't care about the open border. They're all making money no matter what because Big Pharma's sponsoring all of their shows. And that's why the commentary comes out so disconnected. And it's distasteful. Even their own voters or viewers will see that, and it's like, what, you guys are just laughing at our pain? You're laughing at our struggle. That's what you guys are doing. Healthcare's nonsense? That's crazy, dude. So wild to hear MSNBC say that, but not a surprise. These people hate you. They literally hate you. They don't care about your struggles. They just live in their high towers. They sit there and just talk down on you, pretending to care about you. Dude, these memes are brutal, dude. Holy crap, dude. This is wild. Wild, dude. I still can't believe Tampon Tim said that. I have made friends with school shooters. Jeez. There's no going back. There's no going back. There's no going back. I don't see how you come back from that one, dude. Jeez. Dude, if I ever see Tim Walz in public, I've confronted Obama, I've confronted, I've lost AOC, Beto O'Rourke, who else? Katie Hobbs. I've confronted all those people. Viral clips, national news. If I ever see Tim Walz, this is what I'm going to ask him when I confront him.
Hey, who are your school shooter friends, sir? Can you please tell us who your school shooter friends are?
Oh, I love seeing these people in public. If you haven't seen any of those viral clips, you need to. They're the best. Haven't done one this cycle. I might. I'd be working on something, but we'll see. It's hard to, it's really weird this cycle. When it comes to the Harris and Walz campaign, they have stuff like on lock that is like I've never seen before. It's really strange. Really strange. Apparently, like, there's like a social media war room for the Trump war room social media campaign, and there's people in there that have like barely 15,000 followers. Or there's some people in there that barely have 36,000 followers. Grifters. That's weird. That doesn't help Trump. Okay. Mansplaining, dude. You can't make that up. Mansplaining. But they're reaching, dude. They're trying really hard. They're trying really hard. And it doesn't work.